Hey sis.
Hey sis.
Hey, welcome to this segment of Hey Sis. Today we're going to be talking about no glove, no love. We're going to be talking about sex and the reason that we should be protected and encouraging our young ladies to be protected, because we know that right now we're in the epidemic of minority women being the fastest growing population of new HIV cases. And we're going to also talk about, PrEP and things like that, but the use of condoms. You will see there are condoms placed around the building. So please take condoms. We also have our testing department here today. So I'm encouraging everybody to get tested today. It's important to know your status. And we're just going to have some conversation. Anything you want to talk about, it's laid on the table. Okay? So one of the first things, I want to bring up is, why is it important to use condoms? The thing says no glove, no love. So if he's not covering it up or not willing to cover it up, how much love is in it? And my question is, do y'all really think there's a difference in the feeling when they have to wear a condom? Or ladies, do you feel like it feels different when he uses a condom versus not having on a condom? Tell me about it.
I feel like the only time that for me personally, I can't speak for everybody, but lambskin condoms may be the one that's closest to the feeling or sensation of bare skin. But I feel like with the latex, it definitely adds maybe some friction with the experience that I'm not a fan of personally. So I think that there definitely is a difference between them. But the fact that they're being creative and coming up with different types of condoms to kind of help with that sensation and that feeling, it still gives you that excitement or adventure in sex and still being able to be protected and get a good and a different kind of feeling. So I think they're making it easier for us to want to kind of use condoms, because that was the big thing. Oh, don't use them because I can't feel it, But now they have different ones where you can still feel it and have a good time and be protected. But I think there is different stuff.
So is it really a big difference in as far as the feeling for a woman?
I don't feel it.
I don't think it is.
Now the sensational ones is real nice, but I don't. As a woman, I don't feel a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know my husband's like it. You don't. It's different. It doesn't feel the same. But me, I don't feel it different.
Because, I've heard some men say that, they really don't feel the difference. And I guess every man is different. But the thing is, being safe. Now, when you're in a committed relationship like marriage, we understand not the use of condoms. But when we're just dating, how important is it? I mean, because you may know what you're doing, but you don't necessarily know what the other person is doing. And that's why it's so important to know your status. It's important to know your status. Anybody else want to talk about that? The sensation. How did it feel for you? Because I've never experienced a difference in the way it felt for me. But guys will say, hey, I ain't feeling nothing. Can I take it off? And I'm not gonna squirt in you. And come on, y'all.
I mean,
which is not true, right? Because we know they have pre-ejaculatory fluid and stuff like that.
I think from my generation, they didn't have all these different. If they did, I ain't know nothing about it. All these different condoms. You had a condom and that was it. Mm-hmm. But now they have all these different ones, like you say, lambskin. So you either dealt with it or you didn't. And I don't think there's from my point of view, when we were using condoms, I don't ever remember a difference in the feeling. I feel like if you're doing what you're supposed to do, the condom don't change it. It never did for me. If you were doing what, if you knew how to handle your business, then the condom didn't make a difference.
Exactly. Because to think about it, they have used the condom and the same thing happened with that one, right?
Exactly. You get to the same, you still go to the end of the road, with the condom or without the condom, you still make it to the final destination.
Exactly.
So what's the difference? I think that's a mental thing.
But does it take a little longer for us to get to the final destination with the condom versus without? Because they use their hands and they good. But for us, it takes a little bit
I use my
more.
hand and I'm
to,
good.
yeah.
I mean, make it make sense.
I did a little bit
That's
more.
true.
But, so I don't know. I definitely used to use condoms a lot. But now in a committed relationship, I'm not gonna lie, I don't use them. But we're not married, so we probably should. But yeah. So I don't know. I just lambskin is my go-to though, because it's thin. Stay protected.
So
And-
you go
And
ahead.
some people be allergic to latex.
One other thing you said, in married people really don't use them, but married people really do, because I think they use them more than single people because they're in a position to where they're trying to build something and they don't want the oops, I'm pregnant, because at that point you think you're supposed to keep it because that's my husband's baby.
Right.
But they use them more so they won't, have nothing to interfere with the building process.
Right. Yes. Because that definitely also is a factor. We know that having unprotected sex can lead to a lot of things, right? At 16, my mother told me that, I was getting to the age where I was going to probably be interested in sex. She said, just be careful. That was the only thing she told me. It wasn't no more detail about it, And so when I did have sex, he told me I'm a grown man because he didn't use a condom. I know what I'm doing. And I ended up pregnant. So I had a son at 18 in high school because I did not use protection because I believed him, right? Which was not true. And sometimes, we believe what they tell us, and then we have to deal with the repercussions behind it, right? Whether it's a child, whether it's a STD, let's talk about that. Why do we believe them? Why do we take for granted that it is safe?
Because that's what we want to feel.
That's
safe.
it.
Yeah.
We want
So
to
if you
believe
make me
that.
feel that way, then I'm yours.
True.
I want to go back to one thing about the married people using condoms, because I'm married, and for me, I was just like, well, when I become married, I don't have to use them anymore. Like I'm good, like I'm safe. Like me and my husband, when we started dating, we went and we got tested, and we shared our results with each other. And then right before we got married, we also got tested again and shared our results with each other.
Right.
So we felt like we were, safe and secure. And we sat down and talked about, if I do get pregnant, what does that look like? Right. Talked about, making sure I'm on birth control and talking about, when we get off and all that type of stuff. And so I just find it just different, different dynamics of different, people, because some people think, oh, I'm married now. Like I'm good. I don't have to.
Right. And that's the thing, I was at a conference last year and I met a lady. She was married and she had been married for like 15 years. She was married for 15 years. She got very sick. She didn't fit the criteria for anyone that should be HIV positive because she was in a marriage. She had been married 15 years, right? Well, they did every test on her. Test after test. They kept coming out, hey, negative, wasn't nothing wrong with her. Finally, they did an HIV test.
Oh, wow.
And she never could get out of him how he got positive and got her positive. So we know that it does happen. And that's why I say it's so important, even if you're in a committed relationship, you know what you're doing, but you may not know what the partner is doing. And that's why we always encourage everybody, it's okay. That doesn't mean you don't trust the person, but it's important that we know our status. Because we have an epidemic that's going on right now. And we have to educate. We got to educate our young ladies. Because we want them to be safe. Because some of the decisions that they're making can impact the rest of their lives. And so we have to have these open conversations about sex, about protection. Why it's important? Because you can get more than just a baby.
That's right.
Yeah, there's also
That's the least of your worries.
Exactly.
That men carry. It doesn't do anything for them, but it wreaks havoc on a woman's body.
It does. It does. And we know that there are other diseases besides HIV that you cannot get rid of. You know, herpes for one. You know, once you have it, you have it. You know, but it's treatable. And that's the good thing about it. There is medication to treat it, but we still want to make sure, you know, that we know how our worth and why it's important that, you know, we take precautions to make sure that we're preventing stuff like this happening. Let's hear from somebody else. I want to know about you know, these younger ladies, you know, in a relationship. You're looking at me. I would love to hear what you got to say.
Your turn.
Say about what? Me personally, I don't like to use condom like said. It's a different feeling. For me personally, I like the bare skin. In my previous relationship, we definitely used them more and more so to be safe on pregnancy side. I personally don't.
So, what is the difference that you feel, if you don't mind me asking?
That's the bare skin feeling. That feels better to me than the latex. Like I feel like that.
So, have you tried any other condoms? Like she said, the lambskin is a little bit thinner.
No, I didn't even know they had. Or the female.
Yeah, there is a female condom. It's a little bigger and everything, but there is a female condom. Anybody else in here not know there was a female condom? Raise your hand. You didn't know?
No, really?
Yes. It's one of those baskets of condoms in here.
It's on there. It's bad too.
Yeah. Okay. If somebody can pull out one, it's like it should be
It's
like a
big
purple
and
package.
purple.
It's big.
Big one.
Yes. This is the female condom. You know, and the woman inserts it inside of her. It's a lot larger than a regular condom, but it's effective. You know, and we do need to, like I say, you know, she said she didn't know anything about there were other different types of condoms. And that's another thing why it's so important that we sit down and talk to our young ladies about protection. About protection. And let's get out of our head mentally that it feels different. Because I never felt the difference. Now she said she felt the difference. Anybody else had that issue?
It is a difference, but if you want to save your life,
Yeah.
your life is more than you start feeling.
I think the only difference is your moisture level with using them. You start to dry up more.
With the condom?
But that's the only difference I've seen.
Is lubricants helpful?
It is, but you gotta use certain ones with condoms.
What did you say? Google key.
Lubricants.
Oh, I was gonna say, what do Google have to do with it? I missed that
Well,
part.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Google is very effective in learning a whole lot of things.
But not that.
Is anyone else? Has anyone else in here ever used lubricants?
Yeah, you gotta use the right kind.
Because you know they're water based, you know, and everything. You know, there are different kinds, and so you really have to get the kind that suits you, because they are helpful with the helping with the moisture.
But you also have to be
Use the
careful with
wrong
those
ones.
lubricants too. You have to be really careful with those.
Yeah, that's why I
Because
say
they
you know there are
create-
water based.
Yeah.
You know, there are some safer ones, you know, but it just depends on, you know, what everybody likes and what they're into.
A lot of women could be sensitive to those groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Me myself, I don't. Irritates. And yeah, with I've been married for 15 years, so me and my husband, we don't use condoms. But in my younger days, when I did, it is more of a dry feeling with the condoms. For me personally, as a woman, I don't know what this man feels, but sometimes it feels a little dry. It feels a little just the feeling.
Drive it out the condom.
So, you know, in situations, you know, like I said with me, you know, I believed him. I took his word and I decided not to let him use the condom. Has anyone else been in that situation where, you know, you wanted him to use a condom and then he didn't want to, and how did you feel and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I dealt with it. Been dealing with it for 25 years.
That's the fallout.
So what do you do?
Take care of that baby.
She said, take care of that baby.
I mean, really, that's it. Cause you believe in him. Oh, I'm not going out. I'm gonna pull out. I'm gonna da. Okay, like we young, we dumb, don't really know nothing about nothing. So, we say, okay, cool, let's engage. And more so, cause if I say no, then and you my boyfriend, and I'm this age, then somebody gonna say, yeah. Now you ain't gonna want to talk to me no more. You gonna go talk to somebody else. So then I ain't gonna have a boyfriend no more. So
what about no glove, no love?
I mean, that ain't nothing at that age, that ain't nothing I was really just thinking about. Like, cause you don't think at 16, 17 that I'm gonna get HIV, I'm gonna get AIDS, I'm gonna get a STD. You don't think those things.
No, we don't.
You just think at that age of the pleasure you getting at that moment. And you don't think beyond that until you have to think beyond that point.
Right. Let me say this. Those of us who are like 30 and over, and we still have this situation where guys don't want to use condoms. Because believe it or not, there are women who are 30 and over who are getting new cases of STDs rapidly. Women in their 60s and 70s, they still have sex, and they're getting HIV, they're getting other STDs. What do y'all think about that? Because a lot of times we think about the older generation, we don't want to think of our parents having sex or our grandparents having sex. But the reality is that they do. In nursing homes, as far as a cluster or group, they have the highest number of new HIV cases in nursing homes. It's shocking to
see
me.
that. See that.
Because
they around the same people all the time. And so everybody just with each other, and they probably just don't have condoms readily available. Their hands ain't able to put it on or whatever the case may be. So I can definitely see that being an epidemic in a nursing home because the circle's too small. The circle's too small. You get bored. When you get bored, you do stuff to have fun, and that's probably all you can do. So I can definitely see that and understand why it's like that.
Exactly.
So, I have a different experience. So this is definitely different. So I'm a lady of trans experience. I'm not sure if you all know anybody of that experience, but I am. So there's a different experience. I've always had an issue dealing with men who don't want to wear a condom. I found out I was HIV positive at the age of 19. I am 40 years old. I have been undetectable since day one.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been 20 years. And so now I have no control over men being attracted to me. I don't even do anything. I don't do anything extra for the men to be attracted to me. But when I do disclose that I am a lady of trans experience, some are okay with it and some are not, which is fine. I don't have a problem with being rejected. Please reject me. Thank you.
Exactly.
But when I do tell them that I am HIV positive and they don't seem to be concerned about it, they don't want to use a condom at all. But me being who I am, an advocate, I always suggest, for men to use a condom, and it's like they don't want to use it, even though I tell them that I'm HIV positive, they still don't want to use it. So for me being the strong person that I am, I don't even be bothered. Baby, you can stop talking to me, and that's not an issue for me. One thing about me, I am not worried about no men liking me or not talking to me, and I'm fine with that. And even though now, I have dealt, with men who are, positive, and there's a campaign, U equals U. Untransmittable means, undetectable. And that's for, people who,
Bless you.
are positive and that are undetectable, who cannot transmit the disease, to their partner. I find it disturbing. And I promise you, I try to be so truthful, with these men about me being trans. And it's like they are all freaky. They are all the reason and the problems to all of the things that are going on in society. And it ain't got nothing to do with me being who I am. A man is gonna be a man, like my grandma always said, a hole is a hole, and a man gonna go for it. But that is the issue.
Yeah.
And even moving from Chicago, moving here, first dealing with a man, didn't even know I had syphilis. I was so embarrassed because I did not come here for that. I did not come here with anything. But just working and being around my coworkers because they was wondering why I was covering up all the time because I had broke out and didn't know. I thought I was getting beat by bed bugs. I was just so confused. And this went on for a whole month until I was told to go to a dermatologist. And so that's what I did. And the dermatologist recommended that I go and get tested for STD. And in my mind, I'm not thinking like, okay, well, how can I, how this is happening? Because I'm only dealing, with one man. And that's the issue. When we dealing with these people, these men, we trust and believe in that they are being truthful to us. But one thing for sure, baby, is we gonna talk, we going to go get tested, and you need to show me your STD panel, and I'm gonna show you mine. And if that's something that a man is declining or wanting to question, red flag. Right. We're not about to talk no more. And we have to be strong enough to do that and to not let men do things to you. But I do have an issue, and I'm always the one, trying to be positive. We're not about to do it. You need to put on a condom. I'll stop talking to men who don't want to put on a condom.
Right. Especially after you've told them and they don't. And thus the epidemic starts, because if he chooses not to be, the next person may not be as strong as you are to say, no, okay, then that's your life, because I'm telling you. And then now that I'm a down low brother and I done took it there, and now I got to go home to who I call myself being faithful to, because I'm not cheating, so I done took that home, and she can't understand why, where's this coming from? And so thus the epidemic started. And that's how we come into this epidemic of being, becoming positive and not having a clue, because that, like you said, you never would have thought to go get tested for STD. You was trying to cover up from bed bug bites, or, I don't want nobody thinking I got bed bugs, so I can't let you see that. And, and all the time, here is this, growing. Thank you for sharing that. That's
and
really
I've been
good.
truthful. I've always, I'm out here talking like was being asked to be on a listening session that's coming up this month. So I'm always out here advocating and just talking about my experience.
Yes.
And I don't want anybody to think that, the trans women are out here just confused and men. No, they all just freaky. I can turn them down and whatever. They cheating on everybody.
Right. You, me, and everybody else.
Do you, when you have the conversation, when do you disclose like your status?
I disclose right away because I'm comfortable.
Okay.
I disclose right away because I am comfortable with myself. My self-esteem is on a high, and that's just me. My grandmother always told me that if a man is gonna like you, they gonna like you for you, and that's just what it is. If you don't like me, I don't care, but at least I told you what I needed to tell you, and so you won't be thinking that somebody is out here lying. Because I come from a city where the girls are being murdered. I am 40 years old, and all I did was try to protect myself from these men, these freaky men out here. I've tried to stay busy. I've worked multiple jobs just to make sure that I'm not available to these men. So I'm not trying to be bothered. I've always been protecting myself since I found out I was positive at 19. And I'm 40 years old right now. Yes. And I'm happy.
And I would like to applaud.
Yeah.
Because disclosure is another thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is not comfortable disclosing. And I think, everybody has to understand when they should disclose and when should they not disclose. And I know you mentioned something earlier about you and your husband both went to get tested to make sure before they were intimate and let each other see their results. How do y'all feel about that? Because that's something that even at age 50 now, that's something I'm deeply concerned about. You know, my results and your results.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I can't take for granted that because we're older, that we're okay.
Right.
We can't take that for granted. We cannot take that for granted. And I applaud anybody, you know, that will tell the truth. Because there are ladies that are in relationships and then they get sick and then their results are positive. And then these men tell them that he ain't positive. I don't know how you got it, and make them feel like they cheated on them. And then when they go to the health department, we've had you on record positive since 2006. And here it is 2022, and you made this lady feel bad, you know, about herself, thinking that she went and got something, but you one gave it to her.
And when you pull out your pew, pew, pew.
Right. And we do know that, you know, it's harder for a lady to give a man HIV than it is for a man to give a woman HIV, because we know that it is the exchange of bodily fluids. Okay, mainly through semen, people that use shared needles and stuff like that, you know. And blood transfusion are safer now, you know, blood transfusion. Some people got infected years ago because of blood transfusions, you know, because they weren't testing, but now it's safer now to get blood transfusions because they are testing the blood. But she brings up a good point, y'all. There are people out there who don't care. They're okay with it. And I have heard men say, well, you got to die of something anyway. Have y'all heard people say that before?
Actually scary. That's scary. Well, Marche, I applaud you, girl, because I wouldn't have never known the many time I done seen you. You threw me for a loop.
Oh,
I'm like, what?
I didn't know either.
And you got to make my ass water, please.
One thing about, you know, it was, you know, you got especially men, and they too busy going around here owing. It is what it is, you know, and you would think just because they were older, up in my age, you know, oh no, that age limit is higher than the young ones these days.
That's some of the worst.
Because they sneaking and creeping, you know, and so you have to, it's okay, now you too old for that, when you gonna stop? You know, and it's just the fact that, you know, they just trying to get whatever they can get, and their ego is up here, you know, and they sit up there just doing, you know, stuff to even female stuff, you know, that they can't come back from. And that's why, you know, you find some of them, because I'm going to take you out.
Okay.
You know, I'm going to take you out because you ain't worrying about me, you know, but, baby. And, you know, they older. You know, you would think they would, you know, you 60, you know, almost 70 years old. What are you doing? You should be an example.
Well, is it a generational thing, right? Because, like, women who are older in their 50s and 60s, it's like, what was the messaging to them about sex growing up?
Don't do it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the messaging, right? And even when I was growing up, that was the messaging, don't do it. So there was no education. And so as you get older, you're just like, well, I'm just not supposed to do it, or I've been doing it and I've been fine, so I'm not going to, you know, do anything. And so as a mom of a 14-year-old girl, right, I've had to change my whole thought. And I'm going to share something about my daughter. She's 14. She liked the boy. And we thought the boy was okay. They're in the 8th grade and just hanging out, right? I talked to the mom talked to me. And, you know, we let them go and do things, we supervise and all that type stuff. Well, we found out that she was sneaking the boy into the house. And for me, I was like, my 14-year-old daughter would never do that. Because I'm thinking 16, 17, she'll do, you know, not 14. And so when the mom came over to our house at like 1 o'clock in the morning, crying and sobbing because she didn't know where her son was at, and he was in our house, and I was like, possibly not in my house, right? Not in my home.
Right.
And we go in there and we catch them, and we're having conversations with them like, what is happening?
Right.
And I'm talking to my daughter, and she's just like, well, we just get oral. And in my mind, I'm like, how do you even know that?
Right.
But for her, that's not sex.
Mm-hmm. That's what they think.
Right?
What they think.
TV.
That's not sex. Like, that's okay. And I'm like, am I in Dawson's Creek?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was baffled because I was just like, I'm not supposed to be here yet.
Mm-hmm.
But what I had to realize, I had to meet my daughter where she was.
Right.
Right. And so instead of having the conversation of fear, right, because I'm terrified. I'm like, what could have happened?
Right.
You know, I took her to my doctor and I was just like, talk to her. I'm gonna leave the room, talk to her, and give her the education from a medical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it from a mom perspective of what I know, right? And then my husband's gonna give it from the male perspective. And so it's just like, the earlier we can start teaching our children, right? And educating them, because a lot of times we lead from a place of fear.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Fear, worry, and not really being able to understand it.
Right.
And so I just kind of think about the generations, and as I talk to different type of women, the thing that I always hear, and my mother told me the same thing, is you just don't have it.
Yeah,
Right. Just don't do it. Don't come home pregnant.
Yeah.
But nobody talks about the sexual transmitted disease part. Nobody talks about the emotional toll that it takes. Right? When you give it up to somebody, you think you love them and they're gone on to the next thing and they left you with something.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I just find it fascinating what different generations are told in the perception.
And that's true. And it's important, that because we think, what age is okay to start talking to our children about sex?
10.
Because what she said, she didn't even know her daughter knew, right?
Yeah.
Outside of your home.
Yeah.
Outside of your home, your children are being impacted and taught
That's right.
by other kids that may be raised a little bit different than you're being raised. So it's better that we be open and honest with our children than to let somebody else teach them something that's not true.
Yeah.
Because I know even from a religious standpoint, we don't want our children having sex. We tell you to wait till marriage. Well, guess what? Realistically, it just ain't happening too much. It's not happening. So we have to meet these kids where they are, like she said. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and these days, the kids, you have to look at your kids and their environment and your kids' maturity. Because these days, these kids are so mature that you go, okay, now what kind of water or food you been eating? Or something like that. Like you say, they don't just get it. We try to teach them in the house, but like you say, they get it on the outside, or they get it off the internet, or they get it, from their peers, and you go like, wow, and that's why with my kids, I was always raw and uncut. And if I tell you why raw and uncut, I was raw and uncut. And my grandkids, I am the same way. If they ask me, I tell them I'm not gonna tell you what you think you're gonna hear. I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear. And then, I tell them you can ask me anything. You see respectful, but ask me anything. And I answer them. But these days, these kids are like, you be going like, and sometimes they come at me and ask me something, and I go like, I'll take a deep breath and I go, okay. And then I'll just, we'll just go into the conversation. Mm-hmm. But these days, these kids, like you say, when we grew up, we just was taught like, don't do this and don't do that, and this is how this is, and this is how that is. Versus today's times. When I say raw and uncut, it's raw and uncut.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the generations. So I'll be, like I tell everybody I'm proud of, I'll be 60 in 21 more days. Hey, push that up. But in my generation, my mother said, don't. And then that's how she said, don't do it. Yeah. So at 16, I had a baby. At 17, I had a baby. At 18, I had a baby. And all the time, I'm still being told, don't. So as I got my children, because all I was told was don't, I added one more to it. Don't. But if you do, come tell me so I can put you on the pill. Not thinking of STDs because that wasn't prevalent in my generation, in my society. That wasn't, if somebody died from AIDS, they didn't talk about that. What? He got the nasty man disease? That, that's how they looked at it.
Right.
Today, that's a everybody disease. But I didn't tell my children, don't do it because, having a baby is not the worst thing you can bring home to me, So, but I applaud my children because they took it a step further to teach their children more and more. My youngest daughter is 35, 7, one of those. 6, somewhere in there, between 35 and 37. She's somewhere in there. And it blew her mind to hear some of the things that her 14-year-old was doing. Because I told my daughter don't. And so she had her first child, I think she was 20. And then her daughter is 14 and she's raised her in church. And she gives her, if she thinks she wants it, she gets it. And so she never thought these things, everybody else's child is doing that, but not hers. But when the rooster came home to roost, it was like, oh, what? That's what made me think about it when you said that. Cause she was like, she called me, Mom, do you know? And I was like, oh, I mean, it wasn't surprising, but it's just the generation, just don't. It's not a reason why? Cause I said so. So that's how the next generation, you come, don't. But if you do, even though they didn't tell me, why would we tell you you're going to beat us anyway? So they didn't tell, but I applaud them for when it came to theirs, they added a little more spice to it to, that this is the outcome. If you do, this is not only, a baby is the least of your worries.
Amen.
Getting something you can't give back. That you can always take that baby and drop it off at the fire station. But you get something else, you can't drop that off at the fire station. You get HIV, you got to keep that like luggage. So, and I am grateful. First off, let me just tell you, thank you for this because this is amazing. And we need to keep educating because I've been watching it. And this epidemic is attacking us.
It is.
And it wasn't a us at first. It's never been an issue for us. It's never been an us thing. That, it was never something that Black women had to deal with. And if we did, I think about that movie, For Color Girls. And when Janet found out, it was devastating because that's not something we deal with. But more and more, it's becoming a us thing, not a them thing. And we do have to educate.
Right. And one of the reasons that we think it hadn't been an us thing because we don't talk about it.
Right.
We don't talk about it. There are people that have been positive 20, 30, 40 some years.
But they never talk.
We don't talk about it because there was shame that came with it for some reason.
Yes.
And to me, it's just like any other thing you live with, diabetes. It has to be treated, right? High blood pressure has to be treated. Okay, it has to be treated. If you take your medicine, you're okay. You're okay. But we do have to talk to our kids.
Right.
We have to let these kids know, and I don't even know. Let me ask this question. Who will be comfortable teaching their daughter how to use a condom?
I will.
Let's talk about that.
My thing is,
wait a minute. Let me get Inga.
I just was gonna piggyback on it.
Go ahead.
My grandkids are 7 and 8, and they know so much about sex right now at this age. And they came ask me questions, and I was surprised at how much my daughter had been told them at this age. And I'm like, why are you telling? She said, Mom, they are exposed to too much out here.
Yeah.
The internet is going to teach them. So when they come to me and they ask me something, when they see it, I go the extra mile to let them know certain things so that they will know exactly what. And they come tell me things that I've never been aware of about certain situations.
Right.
So they are really getting educated if you don't educate your children at a young age.
Absolutely.
Because it's about the access. Like, me and my husband, we were talking, he was just like, when I was a teenager, I had to go and look for porn and all of those type things. I had to go dig, and you had to go find out, spread it in the palm of kids' hands, and they can just look it up. Anybody can have it. So it's definitely about the access, and now everybody got a YouTube and a podcast, and everybody doesn't spread the right information.
Right.
And kids are going to listen to their favorite person, and sometimes they're not educating them in the right way. So, it's just important that, parents are having those conversations with kids and meeting them where they are.
Yep, those difficult conversations, because I had to go through my son's phone. He's 12 now, but I started at 10 when he first started his little interest in girls. And I have to ask him first, like, tell me what you know about it. Because like you said, you got to meet them. You don't want to take them too far if they're not quite there yet. But if you are already eager or like have questions about it, see what exactly do you already know so I can educate you and then further bring you on. But I don't want to take you too fast and introduce your mind to things that you're quite not ready for. But I also don't want you to be left in the dark or listening to what you hear your friends say at school thinking it's okay. Because these kids sending emojis, but you don't even know what these emojis mean.
Right.
So now I gotta break it down to you because you really look simple and slow in this text message trying to be managed and you don't know what you're talking about. So, and like you say, the way you raise your kids is different because some people allow their kids to be exposed to all kind of different things. And I'm more of a, not too sheltered because I see what sheltered kids do when they get on their own. And get loose and go to college and things. So I try not to be too much of like a helicopter parent, but at the same time, there's certain ages where you should be exposed to certain things and be allowed to do certain things. So I encourage you thinking a young lady is cute or funny or nice, but as far as wanting to kiss and hug, you're not doing that right now. Like, if you had that thought, keep it a thought. But don't be at school trying to hold hands and walk down the hallway. You're not ready for that just yet. But at the same time, I have to understand like he's growing up and I take the hand holding versus the kissing or feeling on her body or something like that. But you got to just educate and there's levels to this. And like, this is what comes with it when you take it to the next step. Like, are you ready for those type of things? Right. Mentally, you're not because your grades are A, B's, and C's. So you ain't got time for girls. So we got to readjust their focus on the important things because girls will always be there. Boys will always be there for the young ladies. But you got to get that education first because without that, you're going to struggle all your life. So we got to just kind of refocus because a lot of the social media and things, they make things seem glitz and glamour. But in reality, we've all been there. We've all been young. We've all been in love a few times and then been hurt over stupidity. So we have to take those lessons and teach it to our kids so they don't make the same mistakes, but still give them that leeway to make their mistakes to learn as well.
Right. Absolutely. Then you have something to say?
Motion. Oh. Yes, what I was going to say about the generational thing and sex, I think, like, for me, what made it easy for me to talk to my kids is us, she said, my mama, don't do it. Don't bring no baby home. So it was the fear of. So we put a stigmatism on sex, like it's a bad thing. Talking about it is bad. Educating us is bad because if I talk to you, that means you're going to go do it. Yeah. If I put you on birth control, that means I'm giving you permission to go have sex. So for a lot of us, it was nope, because I'm not giving you the okay to do it. Right. But with my daughter and my son, because I didn't want them to see it as a bad thing or whatever. I didn't want them to just be out doing nothing, but I didn't want them to think that is, no topic to talk about. Right. No, because it's not. We're gonna talk about it. Yeah. So I've talked to them about it. What leads up to this and what get you this, and if you do this, then this gonna happen, and so to make it to where it's easy for you to come to me and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, which they have. And I didn't react and blow up. And, I talk to my 17-year-old son now, and I'm always telling him, just be careful, make better choices. Absolutely. It's still your body, too. Like, absolutely. We worry about girls having babies and stuff, but we're about what it's doing to your body, right, to your mental, so you have to be more considerate and intentional on who you're giving yourself to, because not everybody deserve it. So if you do, then yeah, wear some protection. Know that the part of you giving away, you can't get back no more. So are you really mentally ready for that?
Yeah.
And if you're not, but you just want to do it because you think it feel good and your friends doing it, you know, I can't stop you because you're going regardless. Right. But just be careful is what I tell him. So we'll sit and talk. And I done taught him about girl condoms, boy condoms, and lubes, and all kind of different kind of stuff. Because he's going to learn. He's going to know.
Right.
I mean, he go to school with, you know, a different group of kids who they explore more. Yeah. And a lot of them kids over there do believe that if you do oral, you're not having sex.
Right. And it is sex.
Right.
And you can get an STD.
Right. And they don't believe that. That's what their parents taught their daughters, that if you do that, you're not having sex. So it's okay.
Right. And you know, and I will say this too, you know, I mean, or sex. I mean, it's just what it is. I remember growing up, you know, it was a bad thing. You know, you didn't want to, no one about talking about you for, you know, sucking a penis and giving head, you know, stuff like that. It was a bad thing. But the fact is, doing it. And we need to talk to them. Hey, check that thing out. You know, make sure there are no sores or blisters. You know, there's something you should look for, because our boys, you know, when my son was a teenager, I showed him pictures of what genitals look like, you know, when they were diseased. You know, because I felt like I wasn't giving him permission to do it, but I just wanted him to know this is reality.
This what you're gonna come home with.
We still have health class because they showed us things like that when we were in health class in high school. So is that something that's still being done?
They do, but you have to get permission for your kids to be in there, and there's certain things that the parent have to okay the kids to be a part of.
Yeah, because
a lot of parents won't. Yeah, they won't sign off for
it. So it was driver's ed and help. So they did those things together.
Yeah. Listen.
So for me, when it comes, my motto is slippers count. And what I mean by that is I was one of them situations where literally I caught myself being grown before I was supposed to be, and slippers really counted. So it was, for me, I know what it was sitting at the edge of the bed. I'm talking about barely on the bed, trying to explain to my mama that I had decided to make a decision that I knew I was too young to make, but I done made it. Now it's a whole other kid that could possibly be in the equation. So I have one daughter, well, I have two daughters. And I can only control what one does and what age and everything like that. But when it comes to the condoms and when it comes to the birth control, I'm gonna be honest, when my daughter does, when she finally get her cycle, especially if it's in her teenage age, we're gonna go ahead and discuss a birth control. We're gonna go ahead and get the less invasive. We're going to make sure we go ahead and implement that now, because slippers do count. I can't control your emotions. I don't know what's going to happen when you go to that football game. Yeah, I can teach you over and over again, you know, you don't want to do this because this can lead to this. Right. You know, it's not a bad thing that those are the feelings you have, but you want to hold up. I can teach that all day. I can drill that in your head all day. But ultimately, when we get to that spot and the emotions get the, revving up, and now you and him sitting in that space, and things could happen. Yeah. So proper planning prevents poor performance. You see what I'm saying? So if I go ahead and implement that now, I don't have to worry about whether you're going to make the same slip up I made, because you have that foundation. Right. For my boys, when it comes to condoms, we're going to talk about all of them. From top to bottom. We're going to talk about why you want to use them. We're going to talk about what happened when you don't use them. We're going to make sure we go into detail on it, because YouTube is crazy. You can put as many blocks as you want to. You can remove it all together. TikTok around the corner. Well, you can take their phone and their friend got a phone. So it don't matter what avenues you take to block it, it's gonna be there. They can be watching. No lie, my son is 5 and 2, and they was watching DJ and Kyrie. And for the longest, I was listening. You know, I hear what was going on. But this one episode, I don't know what made me watch it, but mid episode, the parents opening a popsicle and the lady go to gesture the popsicle as though she's giving head, and they put on the screen a stop under 18. But the problem I had with that was you wait until you 20 minutes into a kid video to throw that in the middle talking about stop. Why would they? So it doesn't matter what avenue I take to block it, it's going to be somewhere. It's going to pop up somewhere. So as long as I teach the correct way to do it, not tell you don't do it because you'll get in trouble. Because come in at 12 talking about you did it, I might throw you across the couch. But at the end of the day, we are going to discuss why, those are your feelings, why this is what happened. But I just want them to know that, yes, you can talk to me. Yes, this is going to happen. If I'm not present, I want to have a peace of mind to know that they had their foundation. Right. The whole, you know how the girls got the period and they take it. And yeah, when my sons them get older, they going to have a bag too. And crazy enough, it's going to have those condoms in it. Right. Because if I'm not there, I'm not there. Exactly. But if you have what you're supposed to have there, I got a peace of mind that this is going to be okay.
What are slippers?
Huh?
You said slippers.
Slippers count.
You slip up and get messed up.
Slip up and get knocked up. And it was my first time, swear. I was experimenting. Didn't even know. I didn't think I did it right. To where when it came down the line and I had to sit on the edge of the bed, it was the scariest thing I ever had to do. And so because I had the experience that I understand, yes, slippers count. Yeah, my mama had taught me. I was in the true love weight class. I had the ring. I knew. I just knew. Wasn't nobody getting this cookie. Somebody got it and it turned into something else. And now I got to explain it. And it's not because my mama didn't do right, but it's because I didn't have the foundation that I could have had. Because back then, birth control, 16, I bet not, because now you're going to have sex. But it's going to happen regardless. So you're right. I might at 16. She might at 16. He might at 16. I hear all the time people like, I was 10. My husband will tell you he was 12. I talk about it all the time. It's crazy. Because what? Why? Yeah, what? Why? So as long as I implement that foundation, it just gives me a peace of mind that I ain't going to have no kids.
And
Because we have to equip them.
one of the gentlemen that told me that he was being molested at the age of 7 by a 13-year-old girl. So maybe, and they don't talk about things like that. And he was just fascinated with the fact of what was going on and didn't think that anything was an issue. And I didn't even know that things were happening like that. And when he shared that with me, I was just like, oh, I didn't know that was happening out here in society.
Because one of the things that people assume, if you haven't been molested, you always assume that molestation is painful. It's not always painful. It's not always painful. And that's why you will find children that have been molested also go and may molest someone else or introduce them into those sexual acts because it wasn't a painful experience. It's not always painful. And so it goes on, it continues to go on from generation to generation because we don't talk about it. We don't deal with it. And just like with the HIV epidemic, we don't want to talk about it. We're in the Southern Belt.
Right.
One of the reasons, the numbers are increasing here is because we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to educate our children about it. And since we don't want to deal with it, we have to face the reality of these growing numbers because there's just not enough being put out there about education. I mean, how many I had heard of PrEP? And how many people know about PrEP in here?
PrEP.
They gotta take some commercials.
Yeah.
But I know it because I was watching a show. And it was just in that show. And I think I started watching the show because my daughter was like, Mama, my friends asked me to watch Pose with them. Can I? I had no idea what it was.
It was on there.
And they was talking about it one day and I started watching it to where I definitely went back and told them, nah, man, find you something else to do because that's a no for me. But through that show is when I started really just learning how to PrEP work, what they use it for. And I was like, if it's that easy, like the education is out there. It's just, we shield them from everything to where they don't know. They don't know.
Need to. Yeah. PrEP are some drugs that are used to prevent people from getting HIV. It's especially important to people when you have multiple sex partners. You're a very good candidate for PrEP. because it will stop you from getting HIV. Now, if you already have HIV, it doesn't work for you. But one of the drugs for PrEP, people are on is a drug they use to treat HIV. The problem is if you have HIV, it cannot kill all of those cells that are impacted by the HIV. So, but PrEP is used to prevent you from getting HIV. PrEP does not keep you from getting other STDs, though. So we do have to know that. We do have to know that. But this has been such a great conversation, ladies.
No.
I really appreciate you all, for being here and us being able to talk openly, about sex and safe sex practices, because we do have to educate our children. We do have to educate our children because, like you said, we were just told not to do it. I was told, I know you get to the age where you may be about thinking about doing it and just be careful, but wasn't given anything else. So I went in naive. Okay, and because I went in naive, I got pregnant, because I believe what he said. And so, but we have to teach our children ourselves because we have to at some point stop the epidemic. It's affecting us, women of color, pretty rapidly. And one of the reasons, because we do trust a whole lot. And that thing, no glove, no love, is real. Because if we really care about each other, we ought to want to protect each other. And that's something we have to teach. It really is.
Is there a particular reason why it's Black women? Because before I came here, I did look up the statistics and got a little bit of background. But is there a particular reason? Why is it do you think it's a cultural thing? Do you think it's people just don't want to talk about it? The stigma? Like, what do you think?
It's all of that.
Yeah.
It's all of that. It's all of that.
We'll talk about what my cousin did last night before we talk about what we need to talk about.
Right.
We'll discuss. I found that we'll discuss what everybody else is doing. I used to tell my girls when they were growing up and they were in school, don't be the round table discussion because people will talk about you before they talk to you. And that's our problem. We don't want to educate. That's why I think it's becoming more of we're rising in the numbers because we don't want to talk about it. They'll talk about my previous drug addiction before they talk about, that I don't have STDs, but they'll talk about that. They'll talk about, talking to their kids that, you don't want to be like that because you'll end up in prison, but you don't tell them that you don't want to do that because you will catch something that, is lethal. And even though they got a cure, not a cure, they got a control. They can put it under control for a minute. They can arrest it for a minute, but eventually, it's going to jump out. But so we just have to be, I think we as a people, we don't want to, we keep, that lump under that rug is about this tall now because we just want to keep sweeping it under the rug.
Yeah.
Because that's not something we talk about.
And we have to stop doing that. One of the things, about people who take their medicine like they're supposed to, they're living longer versus people who do not take their medication because there are people that are positive that refuse to take medication. And there are reasons for that. It's reasons. Some people concerned about the fact that some of them, their belly, they gain weight. Certain people gain weight and they have a problem with the gaining weight, and everything. And some people just don't like to take a pill every day. But the best thing to do to live longer is take your medication. Just like I said, if we had diabetes, we're going to take our diabetic medicine, like we're supposed to keep it controlled because people are living longer. They're living longer and they're thriving. They're thriving. And so we have to educate ourselves too in order to educate our children. We really do. It's so important. But we do have to stop sweeping it under the rug. We do have to be open and honest about what's going on to our children because they have to face reality. Because what you don't teach them, someone else will.
Yeah. On that note, my son, he started getting interested in girls at 10, and because for one thing, it was the area where we lived at, and it was also the way he looked because he actually looked it older than what he was. And so, I mean, if I tell you I had young girls after him and I'm going like, baby, you how and why, you know, versus with my girls, they didn't take me there so soon. You know, but by my son looking older than he really was, you 10 and you like 5, 11, you know, something like that. You know, I had him coming at him from all different, you know, nationalities, everything. And you know, I had to step it up. You know, he was the main person that made me step it up from back when we was taught, you know, about sex and everything when we was younger versus where he took me to at that such young age, and I saw the difference between him and my girl. You know, to the point to where I have to, okay, you have to teach them, you know, and you got to teach them where they at. Because like you said, if you don't get it, I mean, they will get it from somewhere else. And it's not always the right thing that they're getting.
Right.
You know, and the main thing, I mean, that age was, you know, even though he was 10, you know, like all sex wasn't nothing, you know, it was just like nothing. No, it's not. You know, you can get STDs, you can get, I mean, just from that too, you know, and you have to step it up and not be, you know, so sheltered and like that because you can't play with them.
You got to get away from this grown folks.
You got to get away from them.
Yeah, you got to, because they say that's grown folks conversation because it's sex. But at the same time, if little John can sit in there while you talk about Becky from down the street, then why they can't, you know, why we can't change the situation? You see what I'm saying? Because mess is grown folks situation.
Yeah.
Ain't no way, you know, they should know, you know, what was happening at the job. Ain't no way they should know that, but don't know how to put a condom on. Like, we got to pick and choose what information we going to keep sheltering. So her point, why is it so much in the Black community when it comes to women? It's because, like they said, they sweeping it under the rug. It's because it was grown folk conversation. It's because I think it was at one point parents was embarrassed to even talk to the child about it because when they learned it, it was grown folks conversation. So they feel like, well, I had to figure it out. They need to figure it out. So at some point you got to break that and remember that, yeah, this is what grown folks do. But in order to educate the kids on that, you have to step in that box and discuss it with them.
We do, and we know it. It's affecting, you know, our Black and brown women, you know, and and so we definitely have to get that away from that. Let's not talk about it. You know, we don't want them doing it. When I found out that Alexis was no longer a virgin, I was just stunned. Okay. But we've been at a point in our relationship that she can come talk to me about anything. And I feel, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, you know, because I would rather her talk to me than to go get some bad advice from someone else. And we ought to have that relationship, you know, with our young people, you know, that they can come talk to us. You know? Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question because, you know, like you said, we know the Black community, they sweep it under the rug and it's all like it's bad and just don't do it. And you know, you just said I'm comfortable. I feel like I became comfortable because I'm an adult now. Also, you opened that space for me. But as a child, you know, I told you later on that I lost my virginity. I didn't tell you when I did it because I was scared or whatever. So how would you introduce that to a child? Because to me, introducing it to a child is like it brings the curiosity. I'm the type of person. You tell me like don't do something, or you tell me about something and say it's bad. Like I'm gonna be curious now and I'm gonna wonder about it, or you know, look up stuff, or maybe even try to do it myself. And so that's fearful, like when you don't want your 10-year-old or 9-year-old or however old to go and explore those things. So how would you have that hard conversation?
Well, we have to strategize on how we're gonna have that conversation. Because like I said, the reality is you're going to do it whether we tell you to do it or not.
Exactly.
So we have to get past that stigma of, oh, I want you to wait to marriage, and everything. Because I know us being, from a religious standpoint, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. Don't you do it. But since you are going to do it, then I need to sit down with you and have a true conversation.
Right.
If you can't be real with your children, somebody else will. And like I said, I signed for my son to have to attend that class at school. I personally showed him pictures of infected genitals because I wanted him to see. I want him to see. I want him to know how important it was to use condoms. Regardless of if you say you feel different, but guess what? You can still have,
You live tomorrow to feel
exactly. It still happens. Okay, so yeah.
I was go ahead. I was gonna say I was talking to another parent, kind of about sex and just different things people, humans, teenagers face, and they were just like, look, if my kid's a drug addict, I'm gonna take him to rehab. I can get him some help and stuff like that. If they're alcoholic, I can help them with alcoholism, right? But if my kid is having an issue with sex, nobody wants to talk about sex, even though it's a natural thing, right?
It is.
Everybody has those desires, those wants, those needs, those hormones, and all of that. And I think once we start kind of shifting it to grown folks' business and, not wanting to share to just being like, you're human. Everybody has these wants. Everybody has these desires. Let's talk about that, right? Let's talk about the changes your body is going through. Let's talk about how you feel being horny and, all of those other things that come along with it. And when you start to normalize that, it makes it easier to get into those conversations, to talk about STDs and the love and emotions and, all of those things. When you make it something that's normal, something that's not weird and uncomfortable and gross. That's how we are here.
Exactly. There's nowhere around sex, okay? There's nowhere around it. We were made to be reproductive. And so it's gonna happen. So we might as well talk about it.
Right. My mom was afraid to talk to me about the menstrual cycle. She had a book of glass. She's like, okay, you're gonna have a period and you're out. So what I try to do with my daughter is, and she's 8, but just have open conversation about everything now. So when she want to talk about something I don't want to talk about, or I just don't want to talk to you right now. Let me do my mouth. I'm peace and quiet. I try to just even let her to say whatever it is, and I engage in that conversation because I from now I want to build that relationship where you can talk to me about anything. You can talk to me about either. You can say whatever it is you want to say. I don't want to shut you up. Right now we're talking about her body. And then this is your body, these are your parts, this is your privacy. No one should make you feel uncomfortable. No one should touch you in these places. This is for you. And she's not and definitely meeting them where they are. Don't want to give you too much if you're not ready. And she's not in that moment right now where I like boys. So with that being said, these are your parts, your privacy. So just a little bit at a time, and then just always trying to, at least is what I'm trying to do. Yeah. It's always trying to create that environment that you can talk about anything to me. Yeah. I don't want to come. I don't want to. I'm afraid of these conversations. I don't want to talk to me about the cycle. So I'm like, okay, what other example do I have, right, for my daughter? So, and me, I was told not to have sex, not to have sex. The diseases are out there. And I want to teach my child, okay, I don't want you to have sex. I want you to wait till you get married. I want you to be a virgin when you get married. That is your 100% ultimate protection. But if you do, these are your steps. Yeah. And like I said, just starting now, or before she turned 8, just building those open conversations. What I'm trying to do, just make her always feel like she can come to me. I'm not gonna tell you to shut up. I'm not gonna tell you to be quiet. Even when you're just talking about, you told me something 3 hours ago, I'll listen to it again, because I want you to feel like you can say anything and everything to me.
Right.
And I just hope that will be able to build that relationship to where when these moments come, she'll be ready to say, "Mommy, I have questions."
Exactly.
I feel like it should be I feel like there's gonna be a shift in a way in that area. I think because it's gotten to the point now to where my 10-year-old, some stuff that she do come say to me, I literally look at her and be like, "Why do you even know
this?"
That?
Right.
Yeah.
So because the content creators and the kids that they're around daily these kids are so blunt. These kids gonna say the first thing that come to their mind, and they gonna say it because they don't think it's a bad thing. They're repeating what they heard.
Right.
So I feel like with the girls and the kids coming up compared to when we was coming up, I feel like it should be a shift in the dynamic, because it's gonna open the conversation. Is not like the parents aren't gonna have to initiate the conversation, because these kids are so advanced to where, let's be real, they gonna come to you and now you gonna be stuck with the, do I answer this or do I not answer this phase? You're gonna be like, because my son asked me the other day, "Mama, how you get my brother out your stomach?" And so if he wasn't 5, I probably would have wanted to explain to him the way that you get a baby out of your stomach. Ashton. But because it was like, now I'm sitting there like, But I know if he curious at 5, he gonna ask me again at 10. And because his daddy said that he was curious enough to actually try at 12, at 10, I'm gonna explain it to him, "Sir, here's what you do, and here's how you do it."
Yeah.
Because yesterday I was watching a random TV show where literally in the mix of the show, an adult walked in on a kid playing with himself, and the adult was standing at the door, and the kid was looking at the adult, and they was looking like, "Ooh, yeah." And then she walked out, and they was like, like it was normal. Because that's what's on TV nowadays, I know he gonna ask. And because it's like that, I feel like that's why now we gonna have the floor to, well, since you asked, here you go. Yeah. And they may not know, to your point. I don't want to give them more than what they know, but you know enough to ask me the question.
Yeah.
If we been, you know enough to ask. Like Kaylin will do something and she'll come in there and she'll ask the question, and I'll look at it and she'll be like, "You know what? Never mind, Mama." Right, because it's in front of them so much to where they know. They being taught without us having to teach them. We just have to direct the lessons that they're learning. Because they gonna see it. Oh, it is okay. I was watching Jenny in Georgia, and she was in middle school. And
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You said all of it. Just like the show, really bad for Caitlin.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Watch that.
yeah, nobody else. Don't watch it with no cheer.
No, don't.
So I just feel like because it is readily and available for them, that's what's gonna spark a lot of the conversation coming up.
Yeah,
a lot of it. Like these days, like me, I put it to my kids that you can come to me and ask me anything, and I do the same thing with my grandkids. And trust me, they gonna come and ask you, especially if they feel that comfort zone. And I make sure that they get that comfort zone. And I mean, I got grandkids from 20-something on down to 3. And even my 20-somethings, still to this day, they'll ask me stuff. And they feel freely to ask me stuff because they know I'm going to answer. And I'm going to answer them truthfully. And so you have to, these days, and, I learned from back in my days, you have to be open to that, because if you don't, they're going to get it the wrong way, and they're going to get it from the wrong source. Yeah. So, my kids and my grandkids with me, they know that Mama and Nana, will talk to me if nobody else will.
Yeah.
My oldest child is 43, and she holds. To this day, she's still holding us back. It doesn't matter how old you is. If you got questions, you got questions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And as we're gonna wrap up, I want to say that I am thoroughly appreciative of all you ladies. This has been some good conversation.
Yes.
I think that this is just a start because we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
With educating our children about safe sex. And although, some conversations may seem hard to discuss, but we have to, put on our big girl pants and have those tough discussions. Because you want to be the one, to make sure that your children understand, hey, how to properly use a condom. What types of condoms are out there. And like I said, Google can be your friend. Google can tell you a whole lot of stuff, about things that you want to know if you don't know. It's really important.
I said ChatGPT too. They'll tell you.
I just met them, and that is my new best friend. ChatGPT. I just met them, and oh my god.
But I really wanna thank y'all for coming out. This has been so enlightening, and I want you to give yourself a round of applause because this has been wonderful. And as we close out, hey sis.
Hey sis.
Thank you for tuning in. Until the next episode, we'll see you later. Woo!